Okay, so I think we all know what's going on, but let's just reiterate for those in the back. There's this thing called the Great Tribulation. In the Bible, it talks about this 7-year period where it'll literally be the worst time on earth. Wars, famines, fire, and death will orchestrate global disasters while the rise of the single most powerful man on earth will crescendo into a new world order. Now, some people have made the huge error into thinking that they will be raptured before this 7-year period even starts. But even to my surprise, this isn't even biblical. You see, in Matthew 24, the disciples ask Jesus what's going to happen at the end of the world. And as Jesus replies, I truly think he was speaking to our generation specifically. Because the very first thing Jesus says is, watch out that no one deceives you. Jesus even says that many are going to come claiming to be the Messiah. These false messiahs will have world-changing ideas backed by entire governments, even if those ideas are factually and morally wrong. And we already see this today. Millions of people united in an idea that is simply wrong. And in spite of the harm it causes, in spite of its reckless danger, our own presidents will keep perpetrating this delusion, leading billions into believing something that is false. You see, if a lot of people are telling you the exact same thing, then you're more likely going to believe it. So rule number 1 in surviving the Great Tribulation is stay away from all forms of media.
False news has become all too common on social media.
Because it has now become poisoned.
And the agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
One thing that isn't talked about nearly enough is the subliminal effect social media has on our brains. You see, every time you open TikTok or Instagram, you are immediately met with a video that is already playing and that you never chose. You have no control over what doctor shows up on your feed. Just because they say they're a doctor doesn't mean that that's even true to begin with. You see, apps like TikTok literally cram information down your brain faster than you can get bored. And when you have no control over what is true and what is false, then you end up poisoned with lies that you don't know are lies. Around 70% of all youth today have some kind of body image issue. Now, I find this very sad, but truly unsurprising. I mean, we constantly see picture-perfect girls and boys dancing on TikTok, and it has actually convinced us that that is how a human should look like. You see, the media has always pushed this beauty standard or lifestyle. But during the tribulation, they will exploit your fear of missing out. They will show you something that everyone else has, except for you. You see, the book of Revelation talks about this mark that everybody will have to get just to participate in society. In those days, if you want to buy food or water, if you want to go to the movies or the park, you will have to have the mark of the beast. But don't make the mistake of thinking that you won't be deceived. With modern science and companies like Neuralink, we are moving towards something very tempting.
Well, check at 11 tonight. Elon Musk's brain implant company called Neuralink says it's gotten permission from U.S. regulators to begin testing its device in people.
You see, people aren't talking about where this kind of tech leads to. I mean, when you pair a thing like Neuralink and, say, the internet, then you give people the ability to become walking gods.
It envisions its devices to cure a range of conditions, from obesity, autism, to enabling web browsing and even telepathy.
You've then granted people superhuman intelligence, and they can now live out their wildest fantasies through something like virtual reality. See, I truly think that in this same way, they will try to sell us the mark of the beast. Social media influencers will push this narrative. Get this mark and we'll give you your life back. Get this mark and we'll make all your wild and dirty dreams come true. Get this mark and you will become like God. It's an offer you can't refuse. But the only problem is, if you get this mark, you are 100% irrevocably doomed to eternal destruction. So rule number 2 in surviving the Great Tribulation is don't be too curious. They've already placed their little seeds in all of us. Insecurity, jealousy, fear, madness. In other words, no one is safe. So yes, there will come a time where the Christian will have to flee. You see, in Matthew 24:16, Jesus mentions this abomination of desolation. He explains that when this abomination is standing in the holy place, anyone living in Judea must run away to the mountains. You see, this abomination is a beast that will be worshipped by the whole world. And anyone caught opposing this false god will have the beast to answer to. This will cause millions to leave the faith. Brother betraying brother, father betraying son. When that day comes, pack up and flee to the mountains. Now, if you're going to be on the run during the Great Tribulation, there's a couple things you'll need to know. Well, first of all, you won't last very long without water, so you should always be near or around water. Making a shelter is quite easy, especially if you have a tent or a tarp, but if you don't, then this is how you make an easy bush shelter. So usually I'll go find a tree like this and then start leaning sticks on top of it. And the goal is really to make a teepee. Now when it comes to fires, all you really need is bone-dry wood. Start with thin sticks or bark, something really thin and dry. Then progressively put bigger and bigger sticks on it. I usually say just make a small fire into a medium fire and then big fire.
So what now? Well, Jesus actually gives us this parable about 10 virgins who were getting ready to get married to this groom. Long story short, in this parable, only 5 out of the 10 virgins were actually ready to get married. So by the time the wedding started, the other 5 virgins were locked out. You see, Jesus here is actually telling us who and who won't be going to heaven. And those who are going to heaven are exclusively those who are ready. So rule number 4 in surviving the Great Tribulation is to make absolutely sure you are in right standing with God, because there is nothing more important.